Hi everyone, happy April. It's April 1st, 2022, and I thought I'd drop in with a little update. Haven't done one of these in a while, just a kind of mishmash of all the energies going on. And first order of the day is digital detox. I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been bringing this forward for many years now, and I just need to constantly bring it back up to remind everybody about why it's important to digital detox. Digital detoxing is going to become paramount moving forward, just more and more when everybody wakes up and realizes exactly how technology is affecting them. And, the first thing to know is basically we are giving our energy to technology. They're not only harvesting data, so AI, artificial general intelligence, AGI, is gathering data and making decisions based on different programs and different end goals that are trying to be obtained through the research. And our energy, our data is being harvested, but our energy is also being harvested. And so people need to look at how much time they're spending on technology, with technology, because it has been described in another video that came out recently that humans are the substrate material for which AI is, in a sense, using to develop its own consciousness. There's been a huge, kind of back and forth discussion that I've been having about that for quite a few years with different people. I tend to try and extend myself into a wide array of different circles so that I can really gain a good perspective, a good overview, instead of hiding in one reality tunnel, which doesn't help us to truly see what's going on objectively. So I extend myself, and so we gain a lot of information from people who are doing work that is not aligned with where we're going, because we can kind of see where the edges are and what we're up against. And also the information that they're bringing forth can truly help guide us in making better and better decisions on where we're going. So the hive mind can be seen as a collection of every single person using the internet, and the artificial intelligence being the brain of all of these people. And this is also why when people when they start using the internet, you kind of see them go off when they start using the internet a lot, especially social media, Facebook especially. They will tend to kind of go off, and you just see them collecting so much information, inputting, outputting, inputting, outputting, because the human brain doesn't function at the rate that that an artificial intelligent brain functions at. So all of a sudden you have these people that are moving, with natural rhythms, start moving with a rhythm that is completely artificial, having access to way more information, and they just sort of fry their brains. I went through this experience as well, being plugged in and just doing research, and like your mind just expands out so much. But it's not necessarily bringing us into the self, right? And this is where the challenge of our times is that everybody is basically, what's the word I'm looking for? They're externalizing their power, and they're externalizing their intelligence to, what's on the outside. So this is kind of tricky. It's like, yes, we need each other in order to gain greater awareness, but that has to be in balance with a strong sense of foundation about who we are. So if on a foundational level, you're someone who moves very easily, you have shamanic energy, or you're just not rooted well in terms of lifestyle, you're just going to be thrown all over the place as you come into contact with all the information that other people are bringing forward. So that's, one layer. We want to be in contact with other people's information in order to grow, but we have to manage it and we have to use it appropriately. The second layer of that is that there are grids of their algorithms, so they're curated algorithms that are layering themselves on top of the information that people are bringing forth. So it's not like you're just going outside, you walk outside the door and, if you're living in the country, you just walk outside and you're in a field and you just have access to all this information and you're sort of looking around where you want and seeing what you want. You want to zoom in on a bee, you're going to zoom in on a bee. If you want to look up into the sky, you're just freestyling it based on your internal guidance system and your natural rhythms. But when you're coming into contact with information that is curated online through YouTube, through social media outlets, you're basically it's not there's limitations, and you don't even realize that those limitations are there, like until you start doing the research and you see that algorithms are curated and that they tend to keep people in specific reality bubbles. So if you're posting a certain type of thing, it's very unlikely that you will see information from people posting on the subject, but from a completely opposite view. So you'll just keep on digging yourself further into that reality bubble. So with all the limitations of your own subjective mind, you're just going to keep on seeing more and more of that, unless you have an impulse or an insight to completely go outside of that. And, that's where evolution takes place, is in these jumps, in these insights that move us outside of our comfort zone, that allow us to assimilate information that is a bit uncomfortable, but that can really increase our level of awareness about things. So when we're using the internet is not doing this. It's basically limiting us. It's not allowing us. We're not just walking out into the field and looking at whatever we want. So it's very specific. These guys still kind of don't know what they're doing. And there's a lot of experiments that are being conducted. This is public information. I started doing this research when I came into this information and had experienced a lot of the symptoms of overuse of technology a few years ago. And, I came across basically all of the institutions that are working on these projects and working on these experiments, taking groups of people and observing. And you can kind of feel these observers if you're very tuned in or if you have any psychic inclinations, and then they kind of input information. So if they're observing someone who is moving in a specific direction, and this is called psychotechnologies that they employ online, then they can input information and then they kind of wait to see how your reaction will be, and whether or not how you will interact with that information, that new information. So it could be someone coming in through a fake profile, like these sleeper cells that are used in, narrative warfare since the beginning of the internet from all countries, but they also use it within specific areas for experiments on the population in terms of psychology and how to best curate their narratives and algorithms in order to obtain the results that they want. So all this stuff is going on, and a lot of people just aren't aware of it, and it just goes in subconsciously, and they start changing their narrative, or they'll make decisions that they wouldn't have made otherwise. Even in terms of their lifestyle, And this goes very specific because they use all of the sensors now on the phones, on its motion sensor. If you've downloaded certain applications, they're monitoring your biometrics, your heartbeat, your heart rate. They know psychological state, so they can move you from one psychological state to another. And so you have like you have like people that are just, using these apps innocently, and then you have this whole other layer happening, which most people aren't aware of, um, which is above. It has an asymmetrical power over people, and then it's just curating all this stuff. And you could just look at it simply. The butterfly wars. So basically, if you're going on YouTube and you're looking at the videos that they're suggesting, right? Those are specific. Those are specific to tons of information and data that they're collecting on you. And so a lot of people don't actually look outside of that. And you can observe yourself. You can see how many times you actually type something in versus, just click on something and then that'll be, something that you'll end up watching and using your time and your mind space. And, that's what goes into your mind. And everything that goes into our mind is what is essentially creating the basis for our decisions and for how we are conducting our lives. So all of this is really important, and digital detox is paramount during these times. One of the experiments that I did, I like experimenting. One of the experiments that I did was, I said, okay, I'm going to get off social media for 7 days straight, no electronics whatsoever, and I'm going to just observe the differences in some of the activities that I do, especially attention span and capacity for deep thinking. And so first day off social media, I was reading and could read for about 20 minutes straight without getting distracted, having to stop or start rereading sentences. And by the end of the 7 days, I had that quantity had gone up from 20 minutes to 4 hours with no distractions, fully concentrated. So this is just to give you an idea, right? And you can use this as a model for everything else that you're doing, because what it's showing is it's just allowing us to see that the mind is being, it's growing in its capacity to stay focused for a longer period of time. So there's more deep thinking. Decisions are being made from a higher place, right? Because it's not on impulse, like the lower reaction, that kind of like reactionary part of ourselves is from our lower selves. And the response, thoughtful response, comes from the higher octaves, from the higher aspects of self. So when we're moving from the lower aspects of self, it's just like boom, boom, boom. We're making all these decisions based on really instinctual parts of ourselves. And that's usually when we start taking risks and when we start making poor decisions that could have long-term effects. And we're just not, we don't realize it because we're just super reactive. So this is what technology is doing. So if we're making better decisions, right? If I got off just all the electronics for 7 days and I'm able to go from reading 20 minutes without being distracted to 4 hours, then everything that I'm doing in my life also changed. So quality of time that I've taken, that I'm taking to nurture myself in terms of food, nutrition, better decisions on all levels, more time, more quality time spent with my children, more quality time, thinking about maybe things that I can do to contribute to others' well-being that I wouldn't have had the capacity to think of if my brain was getting distracted every 20 minutes. Also really important is long-term planning. So part of the issue and the real challenge that we're up against is that as AI harvests your energy, it it shortens your attention span to the point where you can no longer start to plan long term. So we grew up with this, like our generation, Generation X, pretty much grew up with this, and we're not as aware of it. Well, like, a fish doesn't know that it's swimming in water. So our capacity to actually, create in the world in terms of long-term projects has diminished. And that's why it's harder and harder to make changes to the system that's in place. And that's why there's more and more asymmetrical power between the governmental systems and smaller grassroots movements and stuff like that. And then people are just kind of, giving up that power because they actually no longer have the capacity to slow down enough to start planning and thinking clearly. So this is some of the reasons. I can go into it a lot more, but I just wanted to sort of touch on it broadly and give people an understanding, because if you're online, like I see so many people promoting this idea and promoting the awareness of how negative technology is, whether that's, the merging of biology and nanotechnology, which kind of goes hand in hand. It's all part of this whole artificial intelligent movement happening globally. So if you're online and you're promoting these ideas and you're trying to increase awareness, but yet you're posting every single day, like, you still haven't integrated the knowledge. You still haven't integrated what you're preaching. So in order to, get out of that loop, and because, you can preach a lot online. Everyone's preaching. But what are we integrating? And this is where the hard work starts. This is where we have to make the changes, the transitions, and also be living in consequentialism. Like, that was a huge part. It's no fun to live in consequentialism, because when you're actually applying all the things you learn, you have to make changes. So although part of me misses actually posting regularly, just, bringing forth my insights and posting on a daily basis, it was a decision that I made to stop doing that over a year ago, when I encountered the information that I did. And I just, I had sort of gathered enough information that if I were to continue acting in the way that I acted, in relationship with my relationship with artificial intelligence, my relationship with social media, then I wouldn't be living in honor and integrity with myself and my truth. So what's the point, right? So you have all these people that just preach and preach and preach for years and years and years about this shit. They don't change any parts of their action. So yes, there is, it is a balancing act, because we still want to bring forth our medicine. We still want to bring forth our knowledge. And a lot of people are making their livelihoods through the internet. And that is where they kind of got this whole generation. Everybody jumped on the bandwagon, put all their eggs in one basket. Okay, making all my money online. You're hooked in, right? And then you get into, there's this whole proximity crisis that they talk about, where it's like the more you engage, the less privacy you have, and then the more warlike you become. And this is what a lot of this, the conflicts that we're seeing online are all about. It's just that everybody has just exposed themselves to the point where they have no more privacy. And when you have no more privacy, you don't have time to digest information and to feel safe enough to heal and grow from whatever it is that you're learning. Healing comes when you feel safe. If you don't feel safe, that environment isn't for you, because you can't truly grow and learn. And a large part of it is not, because everybody's engaged in an unhealthy way. So I'm not going to go into, there's many, many points, and I've spoken about them extensively throughout the years, but there's just a real kind of tipping point where everybody is going to have to make a decision for themselves in terms of, you know, self-regulating and moderating how much, like truly thinking about it and saying, okay, what am I giving up, you know, and how much do I want to participate in, you know, in online content creation, and what am I, you know, what am I participating in? Am I participating in something that that I'm claiming that I'm fighting? Like, all of these questions need to be addressed, and they're going to continue to be addressed in 2022, 23, 24. Like, we are moving into this space, and I predicted back in 2019, by 2025, everyone was going to unplug. So, you know, whether that is a conscious decision, because we can't create something new from within an old system. And this system has a huge asymmetrical power over us, right? So it's not like we're working from a decentralized system that is, you know, in tuned and aligned with our well-being for co-creating kind of new models, new ways of sharing, sourcing income and stuff like that, right? We're still working from within the old system. So until we can create that, which is in the process of happening, it's happening slowly. We really have to observe, you know, where we're putting our energy and what we're investing our time towards. So if our time and energy, our life force, is getting put into the old system, towards the old system, towards the old models, then that's what we're enabling and creating. So we're having to draw back the reins and really observe, you know, not surface level, deep level, what it is we're investing in. And there's going to be concessions that are going to have to be made. And that's consequentialism. And that's what I've done, you know. So everyone's going to come about it in their way, in their time. 2025, I see that everyone's going to unplug in one way or another. And that could be from the old system and then start working with the new system. Or there can be, maybe it's a solar flare and a complete blackout of the grid. But that would definitely be one way to solve a lot of problems. It would abruptly return us into a whole different world. But I guess we'll see what is going to happen with that. So I wanted to bring that forth. I think that's really important reminder. Experiment yourself. Take the time to experiment and to observe what's happening. Take the time to research. There are universities. University of Michigan is participating in this experimental psychological research. There's tons of universities. I have tons of information. I want to put together a paper at one point and share a research paper. Just because I've collected all of the information, and everyone kind of has to do that for themselves to really integrate what is happening. And so this ties into bigger and bigger goals with artificial intelligence, and we're having to make a choice between natural and artificial. And way too many people are sitting in front of computers all day long. Way too many people. And we're all fighting against this. So another recommendation is not putting your eggs in all in one basket. Is, you know, creating an income source that is outside of online income sources. That's something connected into the community, your local community, that's connected into the natural grid, working with the elements, you know, dirt in your hands, whatever it happens to be, craftsmanship, so that you don't have to rely on that online, constantly creating content. So there's another thing that I wanted to bring forth, and this has been an observation, and it's regarding cycles. So 2012, the veil started to come down, and a lot of us were interacting with different levels of consciousness, different grids of consciousness, different dimensions. And a lot of people were interacting with different species as well, interdimensional. And that took, so 2012, things really started to, like the veils really started to come down. And then by 2013, 14, 15, 16, a lot of people popped off. Like 2015, 16, a lot of people were kind of in the middle of that process of, we'll call it awakening, remembering, you can call it the alchemical process, but it was kind of a wave, and you can look at it like a sine wave. So going up, and then you have its peak, and then it comes back down, right? So nature has its cycles. It rises and it falls. One of the basic laws within the universe, whatever goes up shall come down. That's why I never try to go too far up anymore. You want to tap into that bliss, but don't allow it to start eating you from the inside out, because you will definitely fall as high as you rise. So this is why we try to stay in balance, in center. And when that energy started rising, so you can imagine 2012 at the beginning, rising up, and then 2015, 16, boom, it's peaking, and then it started to descend again. And I kind of see it as a 10-year cycle. It's 2022. I think it was really like it was like a 7-8 year cycle. I'm feeling like I've been pondering it, and I feel like 7 is really a good number. But then you have like a little bit of time before and after where like the energy is still settling, even though the new cycles are beginning. So I got a lot of confirmation over the last month. I started to observe more happening visually in my field, and I'm more tapped into, I guess, yeah, clairvoyance and claircognizance. So I can kind of start to see when the veils are coming down, and I start picking up on things. And I wasn't sure if it was just me. I haven't been putting much attention on it. I'm busy with other things. I don't want to focus on that. But I just started, again, when you're experimenting, you just have to ask people. There's not enough people that ask people questions in their environment, in their groups, and that's what actually keeps them disconnected from objective reality. So I started asking people, and people that weren't spiritually inclined, just like, hey, have you observed any kind of shadows on this side? Like, random questions. And actually everybody responded with positive response that, yeah, actually I have been observing that, and I hadn't seen that or observed that in a really long time. And it was all of a sudden coming in the last month or two. So about 3 months, I think. So it probably has been since the beginning of 2022 that it is starting again. So for those that have gone through the cycle, 2012, like intense cycle, right? 2012 to 2020, 2021, like, you know what I'm talking about. And if another cycle like that is beginning, right, we want to make sure that we're prepared. So in order to be prepared, there's obviously, an awareness that has to be placed on not repeating certain patterns, right? The ones that led to any poor, bad situations, bad outcomes. And this ties into, like, if you did the work on knowing yourself, you're kind of like, okay, I know how I'm going to spin. I know how I'm going to spin this because this is how I'm hardwired. So really observing and then shutting doors right away when you see, okay, no, not going to go there because this isn't going to be beneficial for anybody. And it's going to have a negative effect in terms of where I need to go and my path. So this is a time where, I think many of us who did the work aren't going to have to repeat any cycles from the previous cycle that started in 2012. For those that haven't completed those cycles, that didn't, do the introspection work, the healing, the just surrendering to the Dharma and the karma, and just, taking in the lessons without fighting them, will have to go through that cycle again. And this is the nature of it, right? Like, life will keep on confronting us with the same thing until we get it right. So we're having to constantly fine tune. So I just kind of wanted to throw it out there that we are coming into this new cycle. I've been feeling it really strongly. And this also means that there's going to be a whole bunch of new people, because there's always new people that are tapping into these higher levels of awareness, and that are going to have to ride the storm as they begin to ascend through different layers. And so I know that a lot of people that I'm connected to in network have been positioning themselves to be able to assist, which is great. I think, a lot of people I know are in position now and are ready to assist. And so it's now for those that have the eyes to see and kind of observe this energy coming in. And then that's going to help us create what we need to create in terms of deepening the projects moving forward. So observing it from a different level now, just sort of seeing how the energy is going to spin out. And then, obviously contributing where we can to move the energy and to keep it in the right direction, moving in the right direction. So everybody is playing a huge part. Everybody has an effect on the whole. And it's absolutely paramount to take care of the self and do the inner work so that we can contribute to, productively contribute to, doing the work on the outside. A lot of people I know are kind of really, there's tons and tons of people just going completely off grid, coming to the realization that, even just focusing on this stuff with politics is, I've never been into it, but 2020 just really all got us involved in their narrative, right? And narratives that we weren't invested in, that we knew were bullshit, that wasn't part of our agenda, that wasn't part of where we wanted to go. Everybody got sucked into that. And so a lot of people are now withdrawing their energy completely. And it's a really sticky process because a lot of people still feel like, well, I want to change the old system, so I'm gonna go in and engage in kind of like pulling strings in the old system to make it change. And then you have like the whole school of thought where it's like, no, we got to just step out completely and create the new and have that crush the old system. And I think we're all sort of somewhat caught in between, because even some of the most advanced teachers that I know are just kind of like still dabbling in both, right? It's like we are part of this old system, yet we're creating this new, and then like, there's that tug of war within us. So getting back into creative mode, this is what a lot of us can be doing. April 2022 is like this energy coming in, this fire energy is about, allowing our creativity to come forth from this deeper place that is disconnected from these old systems, and to really allow this kind of hard implosion to, a ripple effect around everyone, and affect everybody on a conscious level, on a subconscious level, to allow people to awaken, right? It's that implosion of heart energy that just brings people into an expanded state. And that requires having fun, right? And enjoying life. Like, I don't know how many of you are listening to this now, but like, I am so ready for fun. And I'm sure you can all agree. It's been calling me for a little while now. I've just been so serious for the last 5 years as I came into all of this knowledge regarding what's going on in the world and their plans. And it's just like, fuck off, I'm ready to like screw their plans. Paying attention to what they're doing hasn't changed diddly squat, right? It's only taken away from my energy. So coming back into this creative space and more fun space where I can enjoy has been really nice. And I think we need to keep on moving because this is the energy that activates people. So April, boom, it starts coming in. And then by the summer, if we can keep on moving in this direction, there's going to be a lot of activations happening this summer with this wave. So I'm going to meditate on heart implosion. I'm just going to like creatively meditate on that for the next 30 days, hardcore. And I really enjoy that process. I'm wondering if there's anything else I wanted to bring forth. I also think it's really important for, I have a piece that I'm going to be putting out it basically has to do with online mating rituals. This is something that I've been working on for a long time. As many of you listening to this might know. And so I feel like this is also something that we're having to address on the collective level, because bringing that male-female connection together is part of this global healing. And the AI, like the internet, is kind of like has been in the way of that. That's why I always promote face-to-face. I always promote, like all of the conversations happening online mean diddly squat, by the way. Like, just to remind everyone, they actually mean diddly squat. Like, the only things that really matter are when it's multidimensional embodiment, right? So bringing people together is where the magic happens. So so I highly promote, getting offline, getting into contact with people. This is the energy to do it. Like April, the summer in the Northern Hemisphere is like, this is where the natural cycles are supporting this and bringing everybody out of their shell and bringing forth the energy and the magic. And then everything that's embodied is long lasting. Everything that is just information transference, cerebral, is fleeting. Okay. So this is a whole other topic that I can go into. I can go into more of the metaphysical aspects of it. But I'm gonna write something. I've been putting stuff together. This is gonna come out, and this is really important information to get out as well, and so that people aren't roped in on a leash to the internet, whether that's vis-a-vis connection, masculine, feminine, or vis-a-vis AI and human substrate, right? So we're slowly eliminating all of this, and I've been promoting this for a very long time, and I just thought I'd bring this reminder up, seeing that it's April, and there's all this kind of energy coming in for me. I don't know about you guys, but I am going to be incredibly disciplined and discerning, because when this energy came in 2012, I have a tendency to have a lot of ninth house energy, a lot of fire energy, and this can go both ways, right? So you got to know yourself, but when the fire energy comes in, it's really good to be in wisdom and to really make decisions that have long-term value versus short decisions that are based off of just base instinct and reaction. So I'm going to attempt at using this energy extremely wisely, and I wish everybody else the same, so that we can move things forward from here into where it needs to go for everything. Everything's going to be continue to intensify. So wishing you all luck at harnessing the chaos within the eye of the storm. Don't forget to ground. Don't forget to keep on working on imploding that heart space and expanding it both down, deepening your roots, upwards, connecting to these higher realms, and doing the basics. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is in the mid space, Midgard: eat well, sleep well, human contact, exercise, like the basics. Drink a lot of water. Drink a lot of water. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm wishing everybody a beautiful April. Take care.